Hello, I'm back in Brighton's Extra-Mural Cemetery, and today I'm going to follow the first chapter of the first book of Strolls in the Extra-Mural Cemetery. It was released in 1867. Well, the book starts just here. Oh, you've got the John Collingwood Memorial. So I've spoken about a few of these memorials in the earlier video, but I'm going to follow the route in the book, which starts here and goes up into this hill and finishes with the grandmother of the boxer Tom Sayers. So let's go. So in the books it talks of some fine young trees down here, and as you can see, these fine young trees have grown quite big. So I'm going to attempt to follow the book as best I can, but it's very overgrown here, and obviously the cemetery has changed a bit. So the first grave we're going to have a look at is this one. Now at the time of writing there was one name on it. This one, Guillaume Beaumont, Esquire. Died at Worthing, Sussex. 73rd years of his age. September 1860 something. Obviously before 1867 when the book was written. Right next to that grave is the tomb of the Gregory family. Also at the time of writing it had only one name, Mary and Nichols. Ah, there we go, on the side. Died September 1858, aged 23 years. Young. And there were the burials 1870, 1899, 1904. Just behind the Beaumont and Gregory tombs there, the author goes on to 3 tombs of white marble, a fluted broken column, which you can see there sticking up, a raised cross to Henry Beaumont's son, which I'm guessing has fallen down in that mass of thorns, and a massive Gothic tomb with medieval raised lettering to Henry Elliott of Regency Square. The tomb is the work of Bennett of Lewis Road, and that is that one just there. Then he goes on to the J. Collingwood Memorial. He says, as a work of art, the memorial to J. Collingwood stands before us. Some 5 foot or 6 foot square and some 10 or 12 feet in height, and was erected by Mr. Field of 13 Parliament Street, London, from the design of W. Burnett, Esquire. Portland stone with red granite shafts. You can see the red granite on the corner there. I'm guessing there was a coat of arms on these at some point. You see the red granite here as well. A graffiti inside here, sadly. It's a very impressive memorial. It's a shame though, it is needing a bit of TLC. definitely. So somewhere in here, I was going to have a look at a cenotaph to T. Griffith, who was 46 years the steward of Gray's Inn, late of St. Peter's Place. There's also a cross to Jane Hawkins, who lived to 95, and the tomb of Thomas Copeland, Surgeon Extraordinary to Queen Victoria, and his wife that outlived him by 16 days. But I cannot get to any of them. In the fourth row is the tomb to Reverend F.W. Robertson, a peculiar style, the Egyptian, which was erected by the townsmen, with two medallions on its eastern and western sides, one of which was as a result of the Brighton Mechanics Institution. A fund in connection with this institution was paying to keep the flowers in order. The author said, "As we look upon these medallions, however rudely they may portray the familiar lineaments of the great ambassador and worker who lies beneath, the thoughts will perforce reoccur to the past and deep regrets. Mingled it may be with a bitter feeling, involuntary arise at the recollection of the mental martyrdom of which he was compelled to endure, but breathing as it were the fragrance of the holy earth wherein he sleeps." Yeah, quite a mouthful. Immediately to the west of the Robertson grave is the father and son Lawrence, who were connected to local charities, especially East Sussex County Hospital. The early and sudden loss of John Lawrence Jr. was generally felt a public loss. It reads, John Lawrence Jr., Esquire of Brighton, died on the 20th of October 1852, aged 39 years. Also of John Lawrence Sr., who died the 4th of November 1862, age 78 years. There's some more writing on the top, but I can't make it out anymore. It's very faded. On the side it says, "Sacred to the memory of Arabella, wife of John Lawrence. Died on the 5th of September 1855, age 43 years. Also of Mary Pinney, her mother. Died 1858. Right next to the Lawrence grave is the grave of two brothers, Thomas and John Sheepshank. The book tells us that Thomas made sure to secure a grave next to John Lawrence, so I'm guessing they were friends. And John Sheepshank lived at 11 London Road. He was an art collector who left his collection to the nation in 1857, and it's at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Now I believe next we go here. So it says below the Sheepshanks is another white marble Gothic tomb of the Reverend Robert Montgomery, the author of Satan and the Omnipresent of the Deity. He died in Brighton on the 3rd of December 1855. I believe it's this one, but I can't get to any of the lettering to see. The author then goes on to talk about this grave. He says the most prominent tomb in the 5th row, a huge granite pile, exceedingly heavy and scarcely appropriate in style, is to the memory of Henry James Prescott, Esquire, the Governor of the Bank of England, and was erected by his elder brother. And then we go back to this broken column. It's Waidimer Alfred Platt, a beloved son and brother who was cut off in the bloom of his youth during a hurricane at sea, 13th of October 1857, in his 17th year. Whilst honourably doing his duty as a midshipman, this tablet is dedicated by his bereaved and sorrowing mother. And after the book was written, obviously more people have been added. Archibald. Can't see the surname. Loads of letters missing off that bit. There's a tomb here to Thomas Shaw. Said his wife and 3 children cut off in their prime. But again, I can't see the details because of all the ivy. And then just on the corner, I come to another of the Beaumont family, Reverend Henry Beaumont. Just a little bit up from his other family tomb over there. Then the author leaves this bottom area and goes up the side of the chapel. This is an Anglican chapel, and all this ground to the west of it is consecrated as Anglican. Just up the hill he mentions Richard Newnham, whose grave is just here. Just above that is Thomas Trusty Trickey, known for his going to vestry meetings, one of the army who marched across the desert from Bombay to Egypt to take part in the campaign of 1801. This is opposite, which is no chance of seeing. I buried the ashes of Samuel Ridley, who filled various public offices. That must have been quite an early cremation, as the book was written 1867. Just next to him, immediately above in fact, is John Good, local MP. And then he goes up the hill to the Honourable James Knox. Just here's the James Knox tomb. It's the cross with the St. Peter's cross in the middle of it. And somewhere here is the family of D. King and 7 family members. And then the book takes us back down the path. I won't be able to find it, but immediately above Trickey, 2 sisters, Nora and Sophie Nurse. Nora was grievously sick unto death and tended by her sister Sophie to the point of Sophie dying a short time afterwards. A martyr to affection, it says. It says it's just above Trickey, so it's going to be one of those. It's hard work looking for graves up here. I find against the holly. But I have just stumbled across this one. Not sure how old that jar is. Sacred to the memory of Boy, who was taken suddenly away on May the 8th, 1932, aged 18 years. If this heart should ever cease to grieve, with thy hands far from mine, 'twould be for hope that in a little while mine should be clasped in thine. It's a shame there's been a lot of graves I haven't been able to find in the woods. Might try again in the winter. There's Jonathan Grenville, collector of taxes. 2 Gothic headstones facing south. Mrs. William Pilbeam, widow of Brighton's first chief officer. Flat tomb to Thomas Cooper. Next to a perforated cross to wife and daughter of E.A. Ratton. It says few men have done more to advance Brighton than Cooper. Active promoter of the new Local Act 1825. Also one of the 14 who rescued from the county magistrates the control of our police. He is indebted for much of the formation of Queen's Road and that filthy nest at the top of North Road known as Petty France. He was the architect of the town hall and builder of the Bedford Hotel. As a man, Mr. Cooper was endowed with sterling English qualities, sound sense, indomitable courage, perfect independence, untiring perseverance and high integrity. Sounds like a great guy. Near him is the grave of John Detrick Kirchner. Around it is an iron railing, and the head is a pedestal mounted by an urn, many years member of the musical profession in Brighton. There's Sophie McCowell, daughter of James Harvey Degville, the opera dancer who officiated as matron of ceremonies at the pavilion in the reigns of George IV and William IV. And now he walks up the hill, which is where I am now, to this tomb that I am filming. Because sadly, this tomb that has lost all of its front, except one H down there, and pretty much all of its back, is to the watercolour painter Frederick Nash. He was a member of the Watercolour Painters Association. I've also got a Commonwealth grave here. F. Whitting, 1st Surrey Rifles, died 10th of June 1918. And then we leave this path to our last stop on the tour, which is Tom Sayers' grandmother. I found the other books are a bit more interesting than the first one, to be honest. So stick around for the later books that I'm going to follow, because they're murderers, murder-suicide cases, the tombs of some of the victims of the Clayton Tunnel disaster. I think there's about at least 6 buried up here. Okay, and here is one that I cleared earlier. So this is to Luke Butcher, who was Thomas Sayers' step-grandfather, and Elizabeth Butcher, Thomas Sayers' grandmother. Prior to passing away, she was the oldest inhabitant of Brighton. Lived to 98 years old. She was born 1761 and died 1859. And with that comes the end of the first chapter of the first book. So if I have better luck finding the graves next time, there are the 5 victims of the Clayton train crash. And there is also a grave with a ceramic photo from the 1800s. If I do find that, I expect it to be completely faded, as it's 160 years ago. But thanks very much for watching. See you next time.